and gentlemen, boys and girls, welcome to this edition of Drive Time here on this lovely Monday, December 22nd. Happy Hanukkah for those that are celebrating towards the end of that. And then, of course, we got Christmas and Kwanzaa coming up this week. It is the festive time of the year, or maybe you're a Festivus person. So happy Festivus with the rest of us, right? So whatever you're celebrating, how's everyone doing out there today? Scooter, how are you doing?
Great. Enjoying the holiday season. It's been busy. I've been working every day. No days off until Christmas. So there we are.
Today was my last day at work. I just logged off for officially, so I'm off the rest of this week. So that's kind of nice. I'm looking forward to it. So Showtime, how you doing?
I'm good. Obviously I had my absence because I was finishing finals. We got that done, passed. We're good. Had a work party today, and now I'm just really tired.
Now, what does a work party at the Bojangles look like? Is it at the Bojangles, or did you
Yeah,
get
it was at the Bojangles, and before I had to go to a place to pick up 4 cases of napkins, and then my manager wanted me to go to a Chick-fil-A, which took me probably 30 minutes to get in and out because it's in a big shopping center, and of course everyone's doing their last minute shopping. But
not the one up at White Oak? Is that what you mean? Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So
that's misery this time of year.
I would like to say I am a survivor.
Survivor.
It might be the worst designed shopping center in the history of shopping centers as far as getting in and out of. It's terribly designed.
And they don't even update it. They just leave it how it is.
Yeah, they just leave it, and more businesses keep coming in there. So it's no bueno for sure. But hey, real quick, we know, of course, you're watching us maybe live now on FaceTime or FaceTime. I always do that, Facebook or YouTube, which is the place to watch us live. But did you know now you can also listen to us the next day? So tomorrow morning at 8 a.m., you can find us on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Castbox, and even the Odyssey app. You can find us the next day. So you can actually literally now listen to Drive Time while you're driving. I think that's a very fun thing indeed. So just reminding that. And of course, you can also watch or listen to any of the other great shows here on the Sideline Junkies Podcast Network. So make sure you check that out. If you can't watch us live, it's just another way to check us out. So that we do have to start off with, unfortunately, with some sad news real quick. Either last week, of course, I think that happened, Wednesday last week? Was that Wednesday last week? If I remember correctly, Greg Biffle was tragically killed in a plane crash with his wife and 2 kids. I am not the NASCAR biggest fan in the world. I know you two follow a little bit more. I do know that he did a lot of work for the Western Carolina area when they had the big hurricane and did a lot of relief efforts there. And I know he's done a lot on the humanitarian side of things. So, Scooter, I'll start with you. Let's just say what you want as far as any kind words for Greg.
Yeah, the Biff. We're going to miss the Biff. The Biff was awesome. He's 55 years old. He was actually from Vancouver, Washington. So he's from the Pacific Northwest. He has homes up there, down in Fort Lauderdale, which is where the plane was going to, and then they were going to go back up. He has some property down there, or had property down there as well. But it's really sad, tragic, especially with the kids. There were 3 other people on board as well, and there are actually three of them were pilots, including Greg. And Greg, he was a helicopter pilot too. There's a famous scene of him on a helicopter finding a guy in western North Carolina after the hurricanes, because the guy from a mile away was shining up a mirror, and Biffle in his helicopter saw it, and then they went down and they picked him up. So he's done a lot of that. He did a lot of great stuff like that. And then most recently he was working with Franklin Graham on trying to get relief out to Jamaica as well, because they suffered a really, as we actually, I think Showtime mentioned that one day before one of our shows here about the Jamaica hurricane. So it's a sad thing, tragic, very tragic. Everyone was really young, so we'll miss him.
Showtime, any thoughts on him?
I believe Biff was probably like when I think the end of his career was when I was kind of getting into NASCAR. So, I mean, I don't know much of his stats, but I mean, like Scooter said, he was a huge humanitarian. He's done a lot. He was on the way, I think, to this Cletus McFarland, which is not his real name, but he was on the way to his house. They usually do a lot of projects together and use the raceway that they got over there in Statesville, I think. But no, just absolutely terrible news. Obviously the 3 other people, I think one of them was his assistant, and then the other 2 was a father-son pilot duo. Um, but just prayers to the family. Also, just the oldest kid, the daughter, had a separate mom, so prayers to her too, because who knows what it's like to go through that as well. Yeah, just terrible news.
To get to Greg's racing, he won 19 races in his NASCAR big time career, which puts him around 40th. It's hard to win a race, and he's also been dubbed NASCAR's top 75 drivers of all time. He was very good, very patient driver. He was never a run you into the wall kind of guy, and everyone loved him on the track. He started his career out in the 1990s, and in fact, he ran most of his career. People know him number 16, but most of his career for Roush. Roush, where then became Roush Fenway Racing, in which Jack Roush was the owner. He's still alive. Jack Roush has actually been in 2 airplane crashes. He crashed once in a pond, and then once a few years ago crashed again. So he's like the Harrison Ford of NASCAR.
It is sad or weird how many go with the from auto racing that have passed in airline travel or in air travel. It seems to be out of proportion compared to other sports athletes. Like you always remember Roberto Clemente and Thurman Munson and Payne Stewart, the great golfer. But it seems like it's happened even more on the auto side for some reason.
Yeah, in fact, in 2 months in '93, you had Alan Kulwicki won the championship the year before he raced the Hooters car, and everyone loved Kulwicki. And just a few months later, he died in a plane crash.
Yeah.
And strangely enough, 2 years after that, 2 months after that, at the Talladega Raceway, Davey Allison was trying to land a helicopter, flipped it, and he died the next day. So it's like crazy. And then Rick Hendricks almost lost his entire family in a plane crash too.
Yeah. It's just I don't know what it is with those two that they seem to go unfortunately hand in hand. But definitely best wishes to his family. It's a hard one when you're losing not just one but 4 loved ones all at the same time. It's hard to deal with, unfortunately. I see that on auto accidents all the time, but it's hard for people to put it all together for sure. All right, so let's get to some better news. Let's talk a little college football, shall we? So let's get into the big playoff matchups, of course, from Friday and Saturday. Friday night started off with I think what everyone thought was going to be one of the better ones, and it did end up being that way. Alabama ends up defeating Oklahoma 34-24. Oklahoma was up 17-0. The Twitter universe was on fire early on about Siege shows. Alabama didn't deserve to be here. And then the reverse jinx came out, and then Alabama pretty much took control of the game from there. Ty Simpson was 18 for 29 with 2 touchdowns to lead the comeback all the way. So Alabama does advance on, and we'll show who they play here in a little bit. But Scooter, any thoughts on this one?
That's a great game. I loved watching that. They're down 17-0. The whole time I'm like, because I picked Alabama to win this one anyways, because they actually played better in the last game. They still lost. I get it. It does. You will lose at home sometimes like that. And Alabama's just a better team. And they came and they said, you know what? That's fine. We'll spot you 17. And then we'll just roll Tide you. And that's exactly what they did.
They did, but again, their running game still struggles. They didn't have many rushing yards, but they got enough out of the air, and their defense, tightened up. Where then Oklahoma just couldn't really do anything, and that a couple short fields helped them get in better position to score too. Sarah, did you see any of this on Friday?
I watched the first half of it. When I think it was like 17-10 at halftime, and I felt pretty good because I was rooting for Oklahoma because I also didn't really believe that Alabama should have been in. But yeah, that is that a choke? I feel like that's a choke. It's a very
It's an early 17-0 lead that they lost, so maybe. I mean, it's still 17 points, which is still a pretty big, significant. So you can still call it choke if you want.
It is a hard pill to swallow, at least. But yeah.
Yeah, so
It's a
that
lot
was
of points, though. It's a lot. I mean, they were up early, 17.
yeah,
Mm-hmm.
it was. But it's funny because on the show I did predict Oklahoma, but in the Satellite Junkies predictions I picked Alabama. So I ended up talking myself into that. I think I had Alabama picked there, and then I talked myself in Oklahoma on the show. So truly shows you where I thought that this was going to be a pick 'em type game. So, but I'll take. I think I went 4-0 in that thing. So we'll take that. But game two was Miami taking care of Texas A&M and what was supposed to be a quote unquote good game, but it was probably the ugliest football game of all four. Just not a lot of offense, a lot of turnovers, field goals missed. Texas A&M did not look good at all. Miami played well enough to win. So you got Alabama's going to get Indiana, and Miami's prize for winning this game is going to be Ohio State. We'll dive into that maybe a little bit when we show the brackets. But yeah, this game was not pretty to watch for sure. Scott, you go.
Thank goodness I didn't watch it. I was doing a wine tasting for 3 hours the exact time, but trust me, I was definitely following along on the CBS Sports app. That's a sad plug right there, but that's what we're on. So that's what
Right.
we watch. That's what I'm using. So it's like, whoa. Then it got down to the end though. I'm there with the cashiers and stuff. It was so funny, but it's just like, oh my God, he just ran for 53 yards. It says right here. And that was when the Miami guy ran for that far. It's just like, oh my God. And then was like, whoa. But 10-3. Wow. I'm glad I didn't watch that one.
Yeah, it was bad. So, but I like defensive games. I don't mind a good defensive game, but it was just, I don't know. It didn't have that feel to it. Like it just felt like more offenses not being able to click more than the defense is playing well. But who knows? Maybe that's a sign of a good defense. Sarah, did you see any of this one?
I believe I was working when it came on, and I was getting off when the game was ending, and I was just like, basically none of this is just from these two games. None of it had gone my way. Like I was like, what is going on here? Because like y'all knew, like I was rooting for Texas A&M. I was all over the Aggies, and then this just made me like think, what happened? Like what happened? And like you said, we're trying to prove, like Alabama saying, trying to prove why they're in the playoffs. I think Miami just basically did the same thing, but I do fear that this means that they are going to get absolutely murdered by Ohio State because.
Well, I'll save that prediction for we got time on that. But yeah, I think that if Miami plays like they did in this game, yeah, it's because if you can only score 10 points on Texas A&M, and Ohio State's defense is way better than Texas A&M, we'll see. And
Exactly.
it's different difference of level for sure. Then we had the two later games that this one definitely I don't think really surprised anyone at all. Ole Miss got up big. It's something that Midnight Rider talked about all the time, that if we're going to see a Lane Kiffin effect, it probably wasn't going to be in this game, and he was correct. They got out to a big lead early, never looked back. It was 41-10, never even felt close for a moment. So I don't really think that there was much of a surprise in this one.
Yeah, I didn't really watch that one at all. I mean, it was on in the background, but I mean, Ole Miss was already, jumping out the big stuff. So that was time for the martinis.
Yeah, exactly. Sarah, any thoughts on that game?
I didn't watch it, but no shocker there.
Yep, I agree. And then the nightcap was the one. I mean, the score looks like the game was close, and it kind of had moments where it was close. Oregon, takes out JMU 51-34. Oregon went down the first drive of this game, scores a touchdown. JMU does drive right down the field, but then they have to settle for 3. And then Oregon goes right down the field and scores. So they're up 14-3, and JMU goes down the field again. They're at the Oregon 10, and then they turn, then this time they decide to go for it. They don't get it. And then the turnover on downs, and then Oregon goes right. So it could have been maybe 14-10 if they get that one in there, and then you start maybe getting a little bit of hope in there. But then Oregon goes right down the field. It was 21-3, and then I think it ended up being 28-6 at the half. Texas or JMU does make a little bit of a comeback there at the end, but to make the score look a little bit better, I think they end up covering the spread, which is good for them. But still, Oregon took care of business, I think, pretty easily.
Yeah, obviously they're the better team, and I mean I mean, Jamie, you put up 34, not too shabby. Good job, guys. There's something to be proud of.
Sarah, anything on your JMU buddies?
Am I sad? Yes. But 34 is impressive. I'm not too crazy. I didn't predict JMU to win Oregon. I would have just loved to see it. But I think I think it was still a good game, and I think it still deserves the respect that JMU did deserve to be in there. Obviously, they just had a really hard opponent, but I think it's still a good sign,
Yep, I agree, and I know unfortunately these two results are probably going to it's not going to help the outrage out there, for lack of a better word, of people who don't want to see these mid-major type teams in the big show. I think I got no problem with their belonging. I do agree. It's harder for a college football team probably to pull off an upset or two than what it is in March Madness, right? We love the upsets in March Madness, but then when it gets down to the Final Four, you still kind of want the best of the best. I think it's probably harder in football to do that just because of the amount of NIL money that's involved and the amount of players that are involved. A small school can still go get themselves 4 or 5 decent basketball players and compete against the big boys. If you're a mid-major school, it's much harder to do that in football. So I don't know what this is going to do with the committee. I don't know. Look, last year they realized that given 4 conference champions all the automatic buys isn't the way to go, and they fixed it. I assume we're going to see some tweaking. We've already seen the Notre Dame rule, for lack of a better effect, where they're now guaranteed a spot if they're in the top 12. I think that there'll probably be some more tweaking that they'll do, but I do hope that there's still a place. I mean, I think the easiest solution is you go to 16 teams and you still let 5 conference champions have automatic bids, and then there's plenty of space for the other ones. So that's kind of my overall thought after this week. Of my fear is going to be that we're not going to see the Tulanes and JMUs get into it anymore. Scott, anything you want to add on that?
Yeah, I mean, the college basketball mid-majors, I mean, you're talking about teams that they have seniors that stick around, like in basketball. Here, like, they move NIL, moves them around all the time, and, they're jumping ship from left to right. Not everyone's graduated. Some are only there 2 years. But, like, this will help JMU and Tulane on recruiting. I think it's specifically JMU is going to really get a big boost on this one.
Agree. Sarah, anything you want to add on the football stuff?
I mean, like we were talking about earlier, like if they make this a 16-team playoffs, I say keep the mid-majors in, like it adds a little bit more, I guess, like development, I would say. But I mean, if they keep it 12, I could obviously see them like being like, okay, still the best of the best being in. But these teams, Tulane, JMU, like they were still best of the best in their conference. I mean, JMU, I'm pretty sure, were they 11 or something and 2, I think. I can't remember.
12-1. 12-1 going into that game.
Yeah, so like that is still a good team. It's not exactly that they don't deserve to be there, but you also just have to look at it in the way of like looking at who they face, and they probably had an easier schedule based off because you have all these other bigger teams like SEC playing like the bigger conference teams. So I think it's just a whole thing where you need to fix who they play to really prove like what their strength is, because it really depends on the scheduling.
That's true. That's a good point too, and we'll see. It's going to be interesting. I think we'll see some changes still made, but it'll be fun for sure to see where this all ends up. So leading into it now, where stuff is going to be. So you got Indiana playing Alabama, and then now you're going to have Oregon going up against Texas Tech. Miami plays Ohio State, and Ole Miss gets Georgia. I think Ole Miss and Georgia is down in that's the Sugar Bowl. I believe Miami, Ohio State is in the Cotton Bowl in Dallas. I think Alabama, Indiana's in the Rose Bowl, if I remember seeing correctly. So they're out in Pasadena. And I think Oregon and Texas Tech is in Arizona for the Fiesta Bowl, quote unquote, if I recall correctly, where
Orange Bowl.
4 games are played. Orange Bowl, that's right, Miami. That's right.
Go Orange Bowl.
Yep. So it'll be interesting to see how these, how the crowds look in all these games. We got time. We'll have a show next Tuesday on the 30th, so we'll save our predictions for that show because that will lead up to New Year's Eve is the first game. That's going to be Ohio State and Miami at 7:30, and then the other three are all on New Year's Day. So that is where the bracket looks. It'll be interesting to see. You never know. Like last year, remember there were a couple of these, the top four teams that went down. Now, some of that I think was just because they didn't deserve the bye. It'll be interesting to see now with Ohio, with the four teams that had the bye and have been sitting around for all of them for 3 weeks since their conference championship games. Does that hurt them where these other teams have only been sitting around for a couple weeks?
I don't think so much because they all want that extra week off anyways to heal up and get ready for it. So I think it helps everyone. I don't think it hurts anyone. And plus, I mean, think about it last year too. We really got to meet Cam Scatterbo.
That's true.
We got to meet in the Arizona State, the Sun Devils. That was pretty cool. So there are these little things that can go on.
Absolutely. That's always the best part is watching and see who has their breakout moment in these games and rises up the draft board. Raymond checking in. Thanks for checking in and commenting. Congrats on Ohio State and winning the national championship. I'm not going to go quite there yet. We'll see. We'll see one game at a time, and then we'll go from there. I still think Indiana's going to be a tough out, and Georgia's not going to be easy if they get by. If both of those teams, I don't know what to think with Ole Miss yet because I still think they've got something to prove too, and that they're going to have a chip on their shoulder to try to show against Georgia too. But again, we'll save some of that for later on. But we'll see. I'm not going to go there quite yet with Ohio State winning it.
Too early.
Too early, exactly. Any other thoughts, guys, on college football stuff before we get into the NFL?
Just this is really fun. I love the college football playoff. And if they did expand it, that might be okay. So
yep. I think it's going to expand. It's just a question of whether it's next year or 2 years. I think that there's not a doubt in my mind this thing's going to 16 teams. I think these other four schools are going to want it. I think maybe you get rid of the conference championship game and then go to 16 might be the way that ends up going, but we'll see. Because does the winner of the SEC or Big Ten really matter anymore if you win that conference championship with 16 teams? Probably not. I just don't know if it's needed, but we'll see. Who knows where they'll go with that. All right, so we do have a little bit of breaking news here. The Kansas City Chiefs are moving to Kansas. It's literally, I think, 10 miles away from where they're currently at, but they just signed a deal. So it looks like in 2031, they are going to be leaving Arrowhead for a dome stadium. I don't know what I think about all these teams. Cleveland just announced they're leaving downtown Cleveland to go to Brook Park, which is out kind of by where the airport is, for a dome stadium. Kansas City is doing the same thing. I get it if you're with these cold weather teams and you want to host a Super Bowl, you've got to do these type of moves. But I just don't. I think you're losing. I mean, who wants to go into Arrowhead in the middle of December if you're a road team and play a playoff game, right? I think they're going to lose some of that advantage. I've said this all along about the Raiders moving to Vegas. Like they lost that home field advantage because no one wanted to go into the pit that was the Oakland Coliseum and play them there. And now it's a destination city where everyone's going to go. But they're going to make a lot of money off of it, I'm sure. But they're hoping to begin playing their games in 2031. It is in a county called Wyandotte County. I believe it's basically right across the border from Missouri to Kansas. So I'm sure they will still be the Kansas City Chiefs, just like we always see with it's not the New Jersey Jets or the New Jersey Giants, even though they play in New Jersey. So we will see what happens there. Scooter, what are your thoughts on the Kansas City Chiefs leaving Arrowhead?
Well, the Raul John Redskins would tell you, back in the day, if you know Raul John. But Jackson County is the county where the Arrowhead Stadium is right now. In the early 70s, they put this historic. The county built this area in Kansas City, Missouri. They built this area specifically for baseball and football. So they got the Royals in and they got the Chiefs in their two respective Kauffman Stadium, and I don't even know what the place is called now, where the Chiefs play. But they lease it. They lease the teams. Both teams are not owned by the same people, and they lease the property. It's like $1 million a year. They pay like $1 million a year. They don't own anything. But the past 2 years they've been updating the lease to the point where now the Chiefs are like, well, you guys own the stadium, so give us a new stadium. And it's true, the county owns the stadium; they take in the revenue and all that. So it sounds like that might happen over across the river into Kansas. So it should be fun. It should be an interesting move. The dome stadiums, it would take away advantages, but dome stadiums, as much as we would love to see snow games, cold games, and all that kind of old school football, fans don't mind sitting in 72-degree temperature when it's freezing outside.
I get that side of it too. It'll be interesting to see if it. I'm not convinced to go see a Browns game right now in 20-degree weather. So maybe being a dome might convince me a little bit differently. We'll see. So the Sideline Junkies podcast, aka KG, checking in. Leaving Arrowhead is a classic stadium. I do agree, and he had what? Because he must not have heard the news yet. So that's the breaking news there. Sarah, any thoughts on Arrowhead and your love for the Kansas City Chiefs?
I forgot about that.
I don't know. I'm not really into like the stadium drama. So like respectfully, I don't care. Cause it's just like it's 10 miles away. It'd be different. Like obviously if it was like a huge move, like kind of like what Arizona Coyotes did with the Utah Mammoth. But I mean, we saw that coming. But changing stadiums, Arrowhead, and I mean, leaving that energy is a little crazy, but whatever. Just leave it for Taylor Swift to sell out, I guess. Maybe it's her stadium now.
I'm a little disappointed that there's no Showtime. I tried to just set you up with a nice easy layup for you just to slam dunk and get a hate count in, and you left it on the table there. Yeah. So
let's not make Arrowhead Stadium to be this like, oh my God, it's like the toughest, it's so hard. These people don't remember the 1980s when the Chiefs sucked.
True.
Okay, and people don't remember most of the 90s when the Chiefs weren't very good. Marty Schottenheimer helped that. But, there's a long time no one cared about playing at Arrowhead. And it was just like, okay, Arrowhead's a weird-looking stadium.
Right.
Because it doesn't look like Pittsburgh or Philadelphia. It looks like that.
It will be curious to see now. Because there's been a lot of talks too about that area. Do they make the renovations on Kauffman Stadium, or maybe now when the Chiefs are gone, do they build a new baseball stadium there for the Royals? Because it would suck for that area to lose both teams, as far as revenue goes. And Kauffman Stadium is one of those ones I haven't been to yet. So I'm like, I'm gonna put this on the radar. Maybe it's one we gotta watch and try to get to before they leave there.
In fact, the Royals a few years ago, they looked into downtown Kansas City, and they wanted the same thing. They're like, listen, you guys can own everything. We want to be a part of the city. We can move elsewhere. We have plenty of great options, but we want to be in Kansas City. But we'd love to be downtown, right. Like the Orioles. And that's what you do with baseball parks. You put it downtown. Yeah. And that was difficult.
Yep.
And they can't get that.
Okay, so to go off of like, Arrowhead being this great place, the 2025 NFL season, their home record for the Chiefs is 6-9 as of late season.
Yep.
I don't.
Yeah, well, I think this year they've not had the luck at home like they have in years past. But
so I mean, maybe they think the move would be good for them. Although I don't really think.
It's going to be good for the owner. That's who it's going to be good
for.
But he's going to make a lot of money off of this move. That's for sure. All right, so that's enough to talk about there. So let's get into some of the big games. So we started, of course, last Thursday with one of the craziest 2-point conversions I've ever seen happen in the Rams-Seattle game. Seattle comes all the way back. They were down from the Rams late in the fourth quarter. They get a 2-point conversion where it was first ruled an incomplete pass, but if you look at it closely, it probably was, in fact, either a lateral or just slightly or even, which then in that case, Zach Charbonnet picks it up in the end zone. So they then ruled the 2-point conversion to be good. Whether or not a whistle went off or not before that, who knows? But they counted it, and then they go and win it in overtime with yet another 2-point conversion as well. So a big win for Seattle. They now control the NFC West, where basically if they win out, they're going to win the NFC West, but it does get them even with tiebreaker and the Rams as well. So then I don't know what the secondary tiebreaker is between those two because they now split the season series. But these teams are all both in now have also clinched a playoff spot with other games that happened this weekend that we'll get into. So, but this was a fun game that started us off last Thursday.
Great Thursday night game. It was so fun. Down to the end and 2 points and everything like that. Go Seattle. I can't believe I picked them. I can't believe they won.
Yep. I was happy with that one too because I picked it too. Showtime?
I didn't really watch this one. I do believe I thought that the Rams were going to win in the pick'em. So, I mean, it was a close game. But I mean, Seattle did barely beat a aging Phillip Rivers. So
I know that's why I thought I was a little worried for Seattle, but I was glad to see that they pulled that one off.
Yeah,
then we had another. We had another
stupid kicker gave me 2 points.
That's right. He did. All the good stuff. Well, I got some good fantasy stuff later too. But yeah, I didn't play. Kenny Walker finally showed up in that game too, and he's been. I couldn't play him on my fantasy team. Fortunately, I still won in my semifinal without him. But he finally goes up. Like I couldn't play him because there was nothing to show that he was going to do that. But fortunately, it didn't cost me, so I'm okay with it. Then on Saturday, we had another crazy comeback. Chicago is down 10 late. They kick a field goal, get an onside kick. They actually recover. Then they go down, get the touchdown just at the end, and then they score on a touchdown in overtime to win the game. So they win that game, and 22-16 was the final. And the Chicago Bears, with other results that happened, have also clinched their playoff berth.
Classic battle of Midway here, man. This was a great ball game. This is what it looked like back in the day. I mean, people getting injured. It's cold. There's people, there's guys with shirts off. It's craziness out there. And there were some flurries here and there, but it was good to see. You don't never want to see like a guy like Love get hurt like that.
Right.
Hopefully he'll be back. It didn't seem too serious, but hopefully he'll be back. But I like Malik Willis. It was good to see him play. I thought he played well. So if you're Green Bay, you played a good team. You held them to 22 points. They can put up 40 if they want to. So if you're Green Bay, you did okay. You're not expecting to play Malik Willis. So the 16, that's not bad.
And thanks to this next game, it didn't really hurt them too much. A crazy game in the 4:00 window last night. Pittsburgh holds on for dear life and beats Detroit 29-24. Again, another crazy play to end the game. There's a pass attempt to Detroit. I can't remember who ended up even catching the ball. He gets stopped just short of the goal line, but as he's going down, he fumbles the ball back to Goff. Goff runs it in for an apparent touchdown that would have won Detroit the game. But if you look on, you see all these flags come down. I first thought it was like a defensive pass at first, is usually what it is. But then when you see the replay, you see Amon St. Brown just push off completely 100%. He did get actually called for the offensive pass interference. And so that game was then officially over. And it was the right call. I mean, I saw a lot of Lion fans I know complaining about, the NFL has screwed them yet again. But I mean, realistically, that was pass interference all day long. It was the right call.
It was the right call. Tough game for Detroit, but Pittsburgh showing tough. So Mike Tomlin lives another week.
And Mike Tomlin is now guaranteed to finish with a winning record yet again. So those that don't like Mike Tomlin will really not like that. And pretty much with another result here that we'll get into, pretty much unless they lose their last two games, they're gonna be in the playoffs and win the AFC North. But we'll show that here in a little bit. The battle for the NFC South, Carolina, the Panthers do it. They win 23-20. Another, just the collapse of Tampa Bay continues. Like 3-4 weeks ago, It looked like it was their division to lose, and they are losing it. And it's just. Carolina is just turning into the fun story, I think, kind of similar to the Commanders last year, of a team that you just didn't see coming to make the playoffs. That could be the Carolina Panthers this year, and New England. They're going to share it with those two teams. But Carolina is that team in the NFC this year, just somebody that you didn't see coming that's going to make the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, if they keep this continuing, Canales he's going to have to be a top 3, possible winner of head, coach of the year.
Coach of the year.
He's done a heck of a job this year. They're, young coach. Tampa. I don't know what was it. The first game they had no injuries too. I think
Yeah,
this whole season.
yeah, they can't blame this one on injuries. They had everyone there that they would want to have there and playing in that game. They just couldn't get it done.
In Carolina, great home game. Their fans they're ready to go. There was actually, speaking of NASCAR, there were multiple NASCAR drivers there. Joey Logano was there. Our guy William Byron was there. So it's a fun time. They had a great time, those fans.
If they did, it looked like they had a lot of fun indeed. Sarah, any thoughts on this one? And I think I cut you off before the Pittsburgh-Detroit one, so you can go back to back on these two games if you want.
Okay. I think obviously for the other two ones, an important thing to note is I think a lot of people had different predictions about the NFC. I know you had your predictions, but for the NFC North, I think a lot of people didn't see it being like this because it's good. It's completely fumbled around. I think what a lot of people thought wouldn't occur, if that makes sense. Like, I think a lot of people thought Detroit and Green Bay would be going back and forth, but no, it's the Chicago Bears on top. And again, I know you had your predictions, but a lot of people didn't believe you, like you said. So, and then obviously Detroit losing to Pittsburgh, I think it kind of screws at them a little bit. It's the first time they've lost back-to-back, I think, since 2000- something.
I think I saw something like that. Yeah,
I heard about it.
Yeah,
because I watched like the ending of the game. I saw them play and everything. But yeah, the NFC North is completely flipped around. And then for the Carolina game, obviously you gotta go with it because it is kind of my backup team. I just want to name some teams that the 2025 Carolina Panthers are better than. Just to get this idea of what is going on. Wait, I have to find it. Which teams was it even? The Kansas City Chiefs, obviously. We are better than the Kansas City Chiefs. Have to brag that in. Have to put that in there. We are better than the Baltimore Ravens. Who would have thought? Okay. Feel me. There's like a bunch of other teams too that you can name, but like I don't know how much it would come of a shock. We're better than the Washington Commanders, just to rub it in a little bit. But
You're not the only one.
Yeah,
I know. I have to ride this boat now because the Raiders boat is completely sunken and just dead.
It's
not
a boat at all. It's like a sinking minnow, more than a boat.
Yeah, like it's gone. So I'm gonna take this and do what I can. So this is my bragging rights. You're welcome.
There you go. Boss man checking in. I think the league needs the Bears and Packers rivalry renewed. I agree. I think there's some teams, look, I'm not a big Dallas Cowboys fans, but the league is better when teams like the Chicago Bears or the Dallas Cowboys are in the hunt and in the playoffs. I think it makes it fun. Raymond with another one here. Although they've still had losses since that win against the Dallas, seems like it's kind of sparked them. Bryce Young gets better with each game. Yeah, and I know that's the funny part about Carolina because Bryce Young, every time they lose, he gets a lot of heat. Canales, every time they lose, he gets a lot of heat. But like you said, Scooter, he's got potential to end up being the coach of the year. And there's some people I think in Carolina that if they choke the last two games, they're going to want him fired still. So he's got some interesting thing there going on there with it's a love-hate relationship with him. And I think Bryce Young just shows that the kid just needs some talent around him, and he's finally got some talent around him.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, and two more games here that I still want to cover before we can get to the Monday night game. This one was a fun one. I think a lot of people had Denver pegged to be the best team, and Jacksonville says not so fast, my friends. They do a Lee Corso. They go out to Denver. This was in Denver, and they whipped them pretty good. They dominated the third quarter, 34-20. Denver could really not get the offense going against the Jacksonville defense, and Jacksonville has cemented their place in the playoffs as well with this win.
It's awesome. Good for Jacksonville. Good for our guy Paulie. This is great news. We love to see the Duval people having a good time down there. They're good fans. But they took care of Denver, and Denver gets the little pop in the face. Okay, back to reality. So that's where we're at with Denver.
Yeah. I agree. I do like it for Paul Duval. He like Jacksonville has had a lot of miserable years like my Raiders have. So it's nice to see somebody, at least like when you guys got to enjoy that last year with Washington.
Yeah,
I'm
it's
glad to
fun
see
time.
that for Jacksonville too.
Yeah.
Showtime. Anything on this one?
No, not really. The question is it going to be concerning for Denver? I mean, they've already clinched the playoffs, but I don't remember what the remainder of their schedule is, but I can try looking it up. Unless we're talking about it. Are we talking about it?
I can find it for you. No, we're not. I wasn't going to show. No, I don't think I have their game in the next little thing. So I
Okay.
can't remember who they play.
Yeah, me neither. Okay, well, they play Kansas City next week.
That's right. That's next week. They got Kansas City, so they're winning that one.
Yeah, and then next week they play the Chargers, which will be a very interesting matchup.
That could be for first place. Yeah, absolutely. Could set up a fun one. So, all right, and then we have here this was another fun one. I put Denver. I don't know why I put Denver. That should be Baltimore. So that should say New England and Baltimore. This was the Sunday night game last night. Another team where I think a lot of people Baltimore got off to a lead, and I think everyone thought for sure that they were going to show that this team didn't belong, and then next thing you know, they come back and they win this game, scoring the last 14 points in the game. Talk about another young quarterback that's showing that they belong. I think that could be our guy in Drake May too.
Yeah, it was really good. I mean, New England's really showing how good they are. I know that Vrabel's a really good coach, and he's proving that now. But May is a really good quarterback. It's New England, so we'll see. They'll probably be good for the next 15 years.
I was I didn't really care who won this game, but I know Bossman checking in here too. He's reminding us that they play the Chiefs on Thursday. That's the Thursday night game coming up this week is for Denver. I still like to see Buffalo win this division, so I was kind of rooting for Baltimore just for him. But it was a fun game, at least. So I appreciate a good game on Sunday night, and that gets us to an important one here. Any thoughts from you, sir, on the New England beating Baltimore? Other than I know that now Baltimore is lower than Carolina for you.
Yeah. Do y'all know like this whole thing where like Drake May's nickname is Drake May, so it goes Drake May. It's great. It's beautiful. I think that's just
true.
important.
I did not.
That's all I got. But
that's all you got. Oh, hey, it's something.
It's and now they just call him the nickname.
You're right.
Yeah,
Nickname?
Drake May.
That's hysterical. All right, so we got the game tonight. Another big one for Indy's trying to stay alive in these playoff hopes. Old man Philip Rivers will be back out there again. So you got San Francisco 10-4 going out to Indy 8-6. San Fran has to win this game to stay up there with Seattle and the Rams as far as for the division goes, but they have clinched a playoff spot with the loss by Detroit. They are now officially in, so they don't have that part of it to worry about, but they are still battling for first place and maybe home field advantage for that first game. So they've got something definitely to play for. Indy's just playing for the playoff lives. I don't think that Indy's going to be able to put up enough points to beat San Fran. Unfortunately for them, I think San Fran's going to score enough. And not that Philip Rivers was bad in his first game out against Seattle, but you're still throwing a 44-year-old quarterback out there against two really good defenses in a row.
Yeah, it is. It's Philip Rivers. He's kind of like he just gets this stuff in his head. It sticks, and he can pinpoint. That's what makes him such a good quarterback. But the main thing why he does well is he can release that ball like real quick. That's why when Flacco got traded to Cincinnati, everyone was like, "Oh my God, he's going to kill himself because he's just going to get sacked 12 times a game and he's going to die." But the thing about Flacco was he has a quick release too, so he gets rid of the ball real quick before he gets hit. Now you're going to get hit. It's the NFL,
right?
But it's a good thing that Rivers has a little more girth. The impact is good.
He seems to like the getting hit part too, so it's
yeah, he doesn't mind it. So
he made that comment last week, which was pretty funny.
Yeah, he's a little crazy, and that's okay. When you're 44 like that, you're a little crazy. Hey. He's a fun guy, and I think he is showing that he can at least throw the ball around real quick. So
exactly. Sarah, any thoughts on your NC State Wolfpack man, Philip Rivers, or this game tonight? Oh, phone call. All right, we'll come back to her. The phone rings. Always busy, Sarah, I tell you. All right. So let's go into the standings. So remember, just in case you don't know, that the team gets a bye. After the top team gets a bye, you got your other division winners and then 3 wildcard teams in each conference is who makes the playoffs. So New England has clinched a playoff spot. They have not clinched the division yet. So now with them splitting it, that does. I don't know what the next tiebreaker is for them, but obviously there's still a chance. Buffalo technically has not clinched the playoff spot yet. They just have one more game they've got to win. But pretty much, I think you can see Buffalo and the Chargers are in right now, and so is Houston at 10-5. If Indy loses this game tonight, then I believe then the Buffalo does officially and the Chargers will both officially clinch a playoff spot. The only way that doesn't happen is if Indy wins, and then we'll get into some of the matchups for the next 2 weeks. But that's the standings on the AFC side, and then on the NFC side, real quick, you got the Eagles. They have clinched their division. The Bears have clinched a playoff spot. Green Bay and Detroit is basically in a battle for the last playoff spot. The Rams and San Francisco have their spots clinched as well with Seattle. And then obviously you're going to have the winner of the NFC South gets in and the loser is out. So those are kind of the standings there as they look at. Scooter, anything on the standings? I'll toggle back and forth between the two if there's anything you want to comment on.
Well, I just still don't think it's over yet with New England versus Buffalo. The Patriots can lose 2 in a row, and Buffalo can win 2 in a row. So I can see that happen. Denver, unless there's a miracle, the Chiefs, because who's their quarterback they're playing? I have no idea what his name is.
They had a Minshew, and then he got hurt last game, so I don't know who they're going to have starting this game.
Yeah, I saw who they got, and I have no idea who it is. Seriously, I've never heard of him before in my life. But good news on Minshew. He didn't tear the ACL.
Right.
What I read earlier today. But Denver, so they should be 13-3. So I think it's Denver's to lose.
Agree. Sarah, any thoughts on the standings as far as anything that you want to talk about before we get into the games for next week?
Yeah, hold on. I gotta recap myself. Had a very important conversation. My wonderful Meemaw was calling to ask if I wanted acrylic metallic markers.
Okay. Breaking news. And wait. Hold on. Let's see here. Hold on.
What?
All right. So with your breaking news, what was the answer?
Breaking news.
I told her I would take them.
Oh, all right. The answer was yes. All right. There we go.
Yeah. Also confirming she's coming here tomorrow, so I got to prepare for that.
No comments. I'm live on the air. I won't make any comments. We'll leave it at
that. Okay. Yeah, we're good. I think.
All right. So there we go. So anything on the standings or anything before we get into the big games for next week?
Wait, go back. I have to look at pictures. Okay. Yeah, obviously Philly's got it. Chicago's got it. I'm pretty sure. Again, Carolina and Tampa is going back and forth. I think Carolina, I know they have to play Tampa again. I can't remember what the other game was though. I just looked at it. What did they play? I think they play a hard game. I'm pretty sure they play
they play that's coming. That is coming up. That's in the next one for it. They play Seattle.
Cool. We'll talk about that. So if Tampa can lose their next 2 and we win at least the one against Tampa, I think we got it, which is crazy to think about, but whatever.
Yep. So let's get into some of these big games next week. This one's just it's a stay alive game for Detroit. They got to win this thing to stay alive. They go to Minnesota on Thursday night. Then Saturday, this should be a fun one. You got Houston, who's just rolling. They have a little bit of a scare with the Raiders for about 3 minutes, and then they got the lead and then never looked back. They go out to the Chargers in what could be a fun little preview game of something later that might happen between those two teams if they end up on a collision course. Then you have Baltimore and Green Bay again, another a true game where the loser could be done. Baltimore's got to pretty much win their last 2 if they want to stay in any hopes of winning the North. And Green Bay's got Detroit right on their heels, just a half game behind them, so they can't take this game easy either. So that one's going to be fun on Saturday. Then Sunday, you got Jacksonville going out to Indy. Again, if Indy wins this game, that's going to be a play-in game kind of for Indy where they're going to have to need to win it to stay alive. And then the game that Sarah's talking about, you got Seattle 12-3 going out to Carolina. So it is at Carolina. who, Carolina did earlier, beat the Rams there. And then the big game on Sunday night, Chicago and San Fran battle of two big weight teams there too. So a lot of fun games coming up next week. Scott, any thoughts on any of these games you want to comment on?
Yeah, the Baltimore Green Bay game. I mean, we could seriously have a Snoop Huntley versus Malik Willis game. That could actually be fun. So sign me up for that, because that's a big game for both of those teams. But
Yeah.
so I would be quite interested in that one. Jacksonville and Indy. I expect Jacksonville to, go 12-4 at that point. But so that should be a good one. Chicago. I mean, there's so many good games going on here. This can be a great week coming up.
It is. Sarah, any thoughts on any of these games that you're gonna keep an eye on, or I mean, other than I know Seattle Carolina's gonna be big for you.
Yeah, it will. I am rooting for it, obviously. I really wish Carolina can pull it off. There's no shame in that. But again, as long as what's the Tampa game? Hold on, is Tampa playing? Because it didn't.
They do, but I can't remember who. They didn't play anyone that I was like, I mean, in theory, I guess I felt that Tampa Bay should win that game, but they play at Miami, which, I mean, Miami, who knows that they're hit and miss too, but they're not playing to us, so Tampa Bay should win that game, but you never know.
Okay. So Carolina loses this game, Tampa wins this game, but then we win against Tampa and they lose, and then therefore we're still number one.
Yeah,
and they're
right. It's probably going to come down to that game next week, because I think it's going to be, you might be tied in the standings, or you might still be up the game, and then I don't know who would have the tiebreaker if you guys finish 1-1 against each other. But
y'all see the division though.
We'll figure that all out. Right. Now, there is one game that I did not bring up. And a lot of people are going to be talking about these big games for the playoff rivalry, but there is a huge game with some draft implications, and that is the New York Giants at 2-13 go against the Raiders at 2-13. The loser of this game is probably guaranteed the first pick in the draft. And the Giants at least show some signs of being able to play actual NFL football, unlike my Raiders. So who knows how this game goes down? But the key for both these teams is to lose it. So we'll see who sucks more. And I've got my money on my Raiders sucking and losing this game.
Yeah, that'll be a tough one there. I think Giants are better than Vegas, but that's why they play the games.
Yeah, and I don't know. I have no confidence in anything that the Raiders do anymore. Even if they end up with the number one pick, I'm sure that they'll find the next Jamarcus Russell and take him number one, and they won't get who they should get. I know that, but we'll see. There's a lot of holes on that team. So, all right. Any other things on the NFL stuff before we get into some hockey?
Todd Marinovich.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. At least Marinovich at least had a couple of okay years. He was not Jamarcus Russell bad, but he was. Or you can go to a good old Johnny Garoppolo. Like that was who Boy Wonder wanted, and instead of drafting CJ Stroud. But all right.
If we're talking about draft bulls, who do we think is going number one so far? Just off of what we've seen.
If the Raiders end up number one, if they take anyone other than Mendoza, I'd be shocked. But I think if the Giants end up number one, I think it depends, because they do have Dart, who has looked okay. When they can if they just need to be able to get Dart to stop, trying to run over people and get concussions. So I don't know. I don't know how that's. I don't know what the Giants. I imagine the Giants would trade out of that spot and get some amazing draft capital to a team that really wants Mendoza. But I think if the Raiders picked one, I think that's where they would go. I kind of hope that's where he'd go. I think he's got great potential to be a good quarterback in the next level. But it would not surprise me if the Raiders screw this up somehow and not not take a quarterback 1 overall or do some. Who knows? I don't know what they'll do. I really don't.
It'll be fun.
Oh, fun. Sure. Fun. All right. Enough rambling about my terrible excuse for a football team. All right, let's get into some hockey stuff real quick. There was some managerial type news. Buffalo fires their GM, which is Kevin Adams. He had been there for quite some time, since 2020, which is a long time for a GM, considering the fact that Buffalo has not made the playoffs during that time. They are the longest team in the NHL without a playoff appearance. I think they're up to like 30, 39 years, something like that, since they last made the playoffs. No, maybe, yeah, maybe that, I can't remember. Maybe it's 29. My math is off on that, I think. But they hire Jarmo, who is Kekalainen, who was the GM for Columbus. Interesting too. They've also announced that they're hiring Mark Bergevin, which was the GM for Montreal. So it seems to me, I'm never a big fan when you got too many chefs in the kitchen. And they also hired another assistant GM. So they got 2 assistant GMs, which were both general managers before, and then, a general manager. So how is that going to work for Buffalo? I don't know, but we'll see. But I think a lot of people were surprised Kevin Adams lasted this long, and I got a lot of love for the guy. He won a cup for Carolina in 2020, or 2020. He won a cup for Carolina back in 06. So I got a lot of love for him, but to see. I hate seeing him get fired, but I think it was long overdue when you haven't even been to the playoffs as a general manager.
Oh, 1,000%. Yeah, 1,000%, my man. And then you got also today, by the way, the Toronto Maple Leafs, they fired their assistant coach, Mark Savard, because they've been struggling so bad. Now, Mark Savard, he was a former Ranger. I watched him play with the Hartford Wolfpack, by the way.
That sounds like one of those moves of the head coach is trying to save his job, so I'll fire one of my assistants and
right. It sounds very NFL.
Yep.
Like, fire the offensive coordinator. I'm taking over. But yeah, it's interesting because now it's firing. We're into we're well into firing season now. Buffalo. Yep, I mean, I'm not saying it's an annual write up there, but if you're not getting fired from Buffalo, you're doing something wrong.
And somehow they've now won. I think they're in a 6-game winning streak right now, so they're actually playing some decent hockey finally. So, is there any thoughts on the Buffalo move?
No, not really. Like you said, probably a little bit overdue, but at least they got it due.
Yep.
And you mentioned Mark Bergevin. He played 2 years with the Hartford Whalers. Just saying.
They won't see. Oh, I'm blur. Yeah, he did. Oh, all right. Hold on. Yeah, I heard that. Hold on. Let me get you here. Edit, and then we'll get this up. So while I bring this up, the other big news here was, of course, Sid the Kid passed Mario Lemieux for the highest scoring Pittsburgh Penguin of all time. And there's that. There we go. We'll show that. There we go. Now our counter is officially updated. So he passes them. Let me get that updated here.
I also mentioned the Hartford Wolfpack.
What was that?
I mentioned the Hartford Wolfpack also.
Hey, it's a
separate team.
Two Hartfords. Okay, I'll update that too. So
Sid the Kid done last week. So
Mario Lemieux. So he's at 1724 points now. It took 1387 was the game count to get to 1724. Lemieux has 1723 in only 915 games. Again, his career was always cut short with the Hodgkins that he was dealing with, everything like that. But this also means that Crosby moves up to number 8 all time in the NHL scoring. So. Scooter, your thoughts on Sid the Kid and his run at history?
Man, it's so cool that I've seen both Lemieux and Sid many times live. So awesome. Because, I mean, people don't realize how great Mario Lemieux was. But those numbers are in so many few games. It's like Mike Bossy when it comes to goal scoring. It's amazing. But Sid the Kid, But Sid the Kid's as a rival for my Caps in OV, Sid the Kid's amazing, and he deserves all the accolades he gets.
Agree, Sarah. What you got with Sid?
I mean, kudos. Obviously, congrats. Does this mean we have to have a whole nother conversation about like our greatest NHL players when OV was passing these records?
We could revisit that again. I don't think him getting this record would change my position on Sidney. I think, or Ovi for that matter. No, I mean, I think because in my mind, if Lemieux plays 1,300 games, he's somewhere well over the 2,000 point mark. So there's not a doubt in my mind that some of that, and that's just there's some players that I know you look at and say, well, the injuries, you can't have them in the Hall of Fame. That's not the case with Mario. What he did in his little time was amazing. So I think he just was him and Gretzky. It doesn't change my top three for sure. It would still be Gretzky, Howe, Lemieux. And then 4 and 5 would maybe be debatable, but I didn't have OV or Sydney in my top 5 if I remember correctly. I can't remember who I had even 4 or 5. Then I think I went. No, I can't remember. I'm getting. I'll have to find the show. Well, because I can't remember exactly what order I put him in. So, and I'm drawing a blank because that's what happens when you get old, Sarah. You'll find out.
We talk about like Mario, not having as long a career as he could. I mean, he went like 13 straight seasons without finally something happen. I mean, like it wasn't until like 80 or 97 when it started to break down a little bit. So he started getting non-Hodgkin's lymphoma. But I mean, he was around since like 83.
Yep.
I mean, he's scoring 55 goals and stuff like that in 84.
Yeah, and I think what you talked about, Scooter, is so big because, like, you're right. We've gotten to see Ovi play. We've gotten to see Crosby play. We've got to see Gretzky play, and we got to see Lemieux play. Arguably 4 of the best all time that we've actually, our lifespan is such where we've been able to see them all play and see them play and remember it. So,
which is strangely, I've actually seen Gordie Howe play, and if you will, Dave Keon, who's the greatest Toronto Maple Leaf ever. So, I mean, I've seen those.
Where did you see Gordie Howe play at?
In Hartford and Springfield with the WHA and the NHL.
I set you up there. See, Sarah. See, that's how it works there. You set up somebody with the fastball right down the middle for them to hit out of the park, and that's what I did with you with Kansas City. You get a hate on Mahomes or anything, and you just left it there. You watched it go by. You did. Yeah. But see, Scooter took it and knocked it right out of the park. So there you go.
Okay, but you're talking about the stadium moving. Arrowhead has nothing to do with my hatred towards Patrick Mahomes. I'm still going to hate him regardless.
I still thought you would.
He could go on the Raiders or the Panthers, and I would still hate him.
Well, that's fair enough. I'd hate him too. So, all right, let's take a quick peek at these standings here. It's already 6. I don't want to go too much longer, but I thought this would be fun because we're getting close to the halfway point at 40 games, right? So we're getting close to the halfway point where I think now you're really starting to probably get an idea of, okay, who's going to be in the playoff picture, who's out of it, and who's where. So you still have Detroit and up top in the Atlantic, which is a little bit of a surprise. Montreal's at 43, but again. 5 points separates first from 7th in the Atlantic, and only 3 points separates second from 7th in the Atlantic. So that thing is razor tight. Carolina's pulled away a little bit, even though they have lost their last 2. They are up there at 47 points. The Capitals are next at 43. You got the Islanders at 42. The Flyers in New Jersey at 41. The Rangers at 40. The Penguins have fallen back a little bit, I think, about where we have. But other than Columbus, every team in the Metro is at NHL 500 or better. And then out west, it's the Avalanche and Dallas, and then there's everybody else. They're just light years still ahead of everybody. Minnesota's on a nice little run to get into playoff position there. It's kind of weird. The top 3 teams in the Central would all be leading the Pacific Division. The Pacific Division just nobody can get it going consistently. Anaheim sitting there at 44, Vegas and Edmonton at 42, and the LA Kings at 39. And then the Sharks are kind of hanging in at least around there as well. So those are the current standings. Any surprises through 30, 35-ish games for you, Scooter, or anything that you're happy to see through 35 games?
Well, I mean, I'm for the Metro, I'm totally, I mean, the top 2, I'm totally not surprised at all. There is a thing, however, Carolina's they got 47 points, good for them. They're running the conference at the moment. They had a tough week this week. I mean, they really got punched in the face by Florida and Tampa. I mean, those are 2 games they were up by 3 goals and lost.
Yes. And
then they lost, 2 of their great players, which can we get an injury update?
Well, it's just last we heard, Jarvie, and now Slavin is out week to week. They've not disclosed that Jarvie has broken ribs. It's still, the good old NHL. It's an upper body injury, but the way his chest slammed into that goal post, which by the way, you guys know I try really hard not to rail on officiating, and there was some questionable the hit on Slavin. People were questioning the fact that Brad Marchand cup checks the goalie just before their first goal, which kind of changed the momentum of the game. I understand why the refs missed that because of where the puck was, how Marchand was positioned. Easy call for an official to miss. Even the hit on Slavin in minor league hockey and in USA hockey, it's a boarding penalty all day long. It just doesn't get called in the NHL. Like I scream up and down all the time about guys getting boarded and getting checked into the boards by the back. The NHL just doesn't call it. It is what it is. So I'm not surprised when that doesn't get called. Jarvie gets tripped, like a blatant trip, like in front of the goal. It's sticking to the feet. That's what sends him slamming into the goalpost. Like that's the one I just don't understand how you don't call that. I get you don't want to call a penalty in overtime, but that's one you just have to call it. But they didn't, and it doesn't change the injury, whether he would have gotten injured or not, but maybe they win in overtime on a power play on a 4-on-3 instead of losing in the shootout. But all right, I jump off my soapbox.
Yeah,
I don't do that often.
The thing was, I don't think Carolina, they came back and they got tough with Florida on that one.
Yeah.
It's time to push some guys in the boards.
Yeah.
It's time to push some guys in the nets. And I think the same thing happened in Toronto, with Tampa also. It just wasn't there wasn't this,
they didn't.
We're gonna get you back too.
Yeah. Well, see, I don't know that Tampa Bay got physical with Carolina. Yeah. It's just Carolina got lazy in the second period, and next thing you knew it was 3-2, and then Svetch tries to pinch up on a play, and it turns into a breakaway the other way because instead of just getting the puck deep, he tried to make a play. But look, they took a 4-3 lead, and then PK didn't have his greatest stories. We talked about Brandon Busty last week, and he was okay against Florida. He's not why they lost that game. He made some great saves, but I still think ultimately, if Carolina wants to go far in the playoffs, I still think they're going to have to add a legitimate goaltender.
Yeah, and they're going to have to, I think, a little, or at least Ron Brindamore's got to tell the guys, unleash the fury on them. You know, like we can't get pushed around.
They play tomorrow night again. Florida goes to Carolina, and it's going to be interesting to see.
We'll see. Yeah,
we'll see what happens in that one.
Should be a good game.
Yeah, Sarah, any thoughts on any of this fun stuff?
Game stuff or standing stuff? Because we took a detour.
we detoured a little bit, but that's okay. This is the NHL section. We're allowed to do that, so you can hit any of those topics we just talked about.
I mean, I'm not gonna get too much into the game. I mean, you said all that there is to say. I mean, we were on like a 5-game win streak, and then we got the point in the shootout, point in the shootout. And that gave us an 11-point streak. So or 5-game point streak, whatever you want to call it. So I mean, I will take it how it is. Obviously, losing to Tampa, that was still brutal. Because now we've choked twice, 3-0 leads to a Florida team. It's kind of like that one Phineas and Ferb. If I had a nickel for each time that happened, I'd have 2 nickels, which is weird because it happened twice.
That's true.
Is literally how that goes. Standing wise, there's not really like any shockers. I still think Anaheim shocking me with being like at least not like consistent, obviously, but they're still up there. But that might just be a whole nother conversation that the Pacific Division is kind of behind everybody else. They're the weakest probably, I would say, out of the 4. It's not shocking that Detroit's up there. I mean, we can talk about it, but I didn't place them in my standings, but I definitely could have easily swapped it around 1 or 2 times with somebody. Like I was like slowly convinced to put them in because I saw it. I saw the vision. I think that's really it per se. There's not really any other shockers.
And just to remind folks how this would work, if the playoffs did start today, your top 3 teams in each division are in. So in the Eastern Conference, Detroit, Montreal, I assume Tampa Bay must have the tiebreaker because they are ahead of them. And I don't know, they probably don't start worrying about tiebreakers just yet. Would be in Carolina, Washington, and the New York Islanders would be in the Metro. And then it's your next 2 highest point totals. So that would be, you've got 3 teams all tied at 41. You've got Boston at 41. 41, Philly at 41, and New Jersey at 41. So that does mean if it started today, Florida would be out of the playoffs and the New York Rangers would be out of the playoffs at 40 points. But it's 1 point difference. So you can see how crazy that can change on a 2-game winning streak, and you can be from the bottom of the playoffs to maybe on top. In the West, your 3 teams in the Central are Colorado, Dallas, and Minnesota. Then your 3 teams in the Pacific are Anaheim, Vegas, and Edmonton. Your next highest point totals are at 39 points, the Utah Mammoth and the LA Kings. So those would be your playoff teams. But then again, right there, you've got San Jose is only 2 points back, and don't look now, St. Louis, who was off to kind of a slow start, they're right there in it now too. They're only 3 points out, and even Nashville, who had kind of a slow start, they're right there. They're playing themselves back into it. And as much as grief as I got about my Calgary Flames prediction early on, they're back to only 5 points out of a playoff spot now too. They finally are starting to play some better hockey, so they're in it. So doing that, this is where we had, I meant to take out the animations and I forgot. So this is where we had the East. All of the only picks that kind of may not be looking so good is just Toronto pick, because they are right now towards the bottom of that division. Out in the Central, we were all heavy on Colorado and Dallas, and that's kind of who's leading the way there. We all had Vegas and Edmonton, and that's kind of, Edmonton's, but this is what Edmonton always seems to do. Well, we talked about that trade they made last week, and then these were our playoff teams that we had in there. So I think we all got some stuff in there that we're happy with. And I think we got some stuff here that maybe we're waiting to see. Like I thought this was going to be that Columbus was going to make that jump, and so far it just hasn't really happened yet. Then out on the west side, these are who everybody had. So, and there's my Calgary. There's my Calgary.
Wait, somebody else had a Calgary pick too. Oh, Vic had it too.
Yeah, Vic too.
We talked about the Jari trade. So he's injured now.
Yeah.
Shocker, right? Who
he's
saw that
like
coming?
it's like weeks injured. So here's the interesting thing. I didn't know this. So I did a little more research on it. Jari he and his family, his wife and kids, they have their off-season houses in guess what city?
Hartford.
No. Edmonton.
Oh. I was already at another. I thought for sure it had to be Hartford. I thought you set
it's not
yourself up for Hartford.
You'd be ridiculous to do that. But Edmonton, which kind of sounds ridiculous too. But his off-season house is in Edmonton. So now that's his full season house. So he's home.
That's right. He's home now. Home. So we'll see. So
now we know why it happened.
I think we got some stuff out there that we can all be happy with and stuff like that. So, so any thoughts on where you're at from your predictions? I mean, you're doing okay. I mean, St. Louis is playing. Vancouver is probably your one that you're probably wish you had a redo on with having Vancouver in the playoffs, right?
Yeah, probably. Winnipeg is also a little iffy right now, but I think they're still, I don't know, like you said, halfway, but it's still kind of hard to tell.
Agree, but it's good fun. I thought it'd be fun to look back and see where we're at and everything like that. Scooter, I think you're doing okay, pretty much. I mean, you called Anaheim for sure. And just like I called Montreal being up there, so we got some good things there, at least. So I forgot to let's pull back up the East here real quick. On the East side, I mean, you guys had Toronto both in, which that was my surprise that they'd be out, and I think we're heading in there okay. New Jersey's kind of hanging around still too. So I don't think there's that many surprises more in the East compared to where we're at, compared to what we're seeing, other than maybe the fact that the Rangers still would be on the outside looking in for now.
Okay, Evan Hansen.
I do also want to say real quickly, it doesn't have to go into the grind my gears, but we did have a little bit of another situation involving, it was the Philadelphia Flyers U10 head coach, who was caught on Live Barn berating a young female official. I think she looked to be, it's hard to see in these videos, but she was probably 14, 15. And for those that don't know, USA Hockey is big on getting younger officials into the sport because they need officials. You don't see the play or anything like that. You just see this U10 coach. And again, keep in mind, he's coaching 10-year-olds. So the 10-year-olds are watching this, and he's just berating this young lady official. Now, I will say this, she does do, she's trying to, clearly she has ejected this coach, and good for her. She stood her ground and she did what she's supposed to do. And she gets, she goes to eject the coach. But he doesn't leave right away. And again, you can tell too, she's also working with a younger partner, because that's one of those situations. If you got an older partner working with a younger partner, like your partner needs to be there. You should never have a situation where one referee is getting yelled at and the other referee is not close by. The referee doesn't have to get involved in it, but they should be in the proximity. Now, if it's a case where they're like, I turn into Papa Bear in those situations, and I'm going to be reaming the guy and getting rid of him. But you have to do that. But anyway, the Philadelphia Flyers youth organization has done the right thing. They have now suspended the coach indefinitely. Once that video came out, I think they're going to do it anyway. Once that video came out, that person is no longer going to be coaching youth hockey. So congrats to the Philadelphia Flyers youth hockey program. They did the right thing. They came out with a statement, and he's been suspended indefinitely for it. So I'm glad to see it. But again, anyone that wonders why there's a hard time getting officials in youth hockey, just watch that video. Now she does I think she's trying to push his hand away from her, but she does make contact with him, which she shouldn't have done. As an official, you do not want to make contact with the coach in any type of situation like that. But she's young. That's something that you learned from, But didn't have to go into my grind my gears, because Philadelphia immediately did the right thing and suspended this guy indefinitely, unlike what happened up in Seattle.
Well, I'm interested though that you say, okay, well, yeah, if she's a young girl, I mean, come on, be an adult and a grown up, and be mature. Yeah. But were there only 2 officials on the ice, and were they both under like 18?
Yes, so which is not uncommon. That happens up here all the time, where you put these 2 younger officials together, just because again, you don't have enough officials. So if your choices are 1 official or 2 younger officials, a lot of schedulers are going to put 2 younger guys out there. Now I don't know, again, who knows? She was only 14, but this could be her 3rd year officiating already. So she could be a well-seasoned 14-year-old. So, I don't want to comment on, well, they shouldn't have been, you shouldn't have 2 young guys out there like that, or a young guy and a young gal out there like that, because that happens here in the Cleveland area too, just because you don't have enough officials. But so who knows? And like I said, you don't see the play, so I don't know what play this coach was or wasn't upset about. And even if it was
it's not the excuse the coach at all. I just think, like, if you only have, like, maybe you should think about having someone over 18, like an actual adult. So maybe that could be an intimidating factor for a coach that thinks that they can talk this way.
Oh, they do it all the time. Yeah, there are some, especially if they got 2 younger officials out there, they think that they're just going to be able, and that's why I love seeing or hearing about the stories where the younger official just says, nope, you're not doing that to me, and puts them in their place. But then there's those coaches that can't handle that, like, oh, what's this 14-year-old doing, thinking that they're going to yell at me. So, but hey, I'm glad the Flyers organization did the right thing, that they immediately said bye-bye.
Yeah, they were thinking that too. Yeah.
Yep.
Good for them.
All right. So that's just a small little rant, but like I said, nothing too crazy on that. Sarah, anything you want to throw out there?
Talking about Philadelphia, you guys know that one of their announcers got fired because they said something off.
He got suspended. Did he get fired?
Suspended. I think. Oh,
suspended. Okay, I was heard fired, but yeah.
He thought he was off air. He was saying he was making a joke to his color guy, and then color guy's like, I think we're still on the air.
Okay, but it wasn't his fault that they were still on the air.
Well, true.
They weren't supposed to be on the air. Apparently, they were supposed to be
right.
On the air.
It was not supposed to be live.
On, and well, one of the broadcasters said, "I think we're still on the air here."
Yeah.
Yeah, you got to always watch yourself.
I think if the Flyers wouldn't have said anything about it, though, I think it might have just kind of, I don't know how many people would have even known about it to have to then suspend them, for a little bit. But
there's got to be people.
We'll see.
Was it the radio or the TV?
It was radio.
Okay, well, there's still going to be people who listen to the radio, and if you'd be like, "I'm sorry, what did I just hear?"
Yep.
That's how I would have reacted to that. I would have laughed. I'm like, "I'm sorry, what?
What did I hear what I thought I heard?" Or one of those, like, that's what I always do when you hear, did I just hear what I think I heard?
So it'd be kind of hard, like, I mean, with the internet and everything like that, someone would be like, "Oh my God, Facebook, I can't believe what I just heard."
Look, it would be Tracy, the Carolina, he's had some crazy slip ups on air too, and he has had no penalty. So I mean,
but he doesn't do it
on purpose, but like, it's fully like, it's just.
Well, that certainly would not be the great Chuck Caton.
Yeah,
because Chuck Caton never made a mistake.
Yeah, Chuck was a great voice. I agree.
He was the
And
greatest
and John
voice ever.
Forslund.
Yeah.
Both were very good for sure. So, all right, let's wrap this.
We can disagree. We can agree to disagree on John Forsland.
You don't like Forslund on TV side?
Kirk says no. Shut up.
No.
Just say
See,
say.
I love Forsland. I do. Even with Seattle, like I still wish he'd have the. I wish he'd get the Stanley Cup Finals. I just like the way
He's a
he
good
calls the
announcer.
game.
He's a good
He
announcer.
is. Yeah, but I do agree. Chuck was great.
Chuck.
He had one of those radio voices that you just love for sure.
He wasn't in there with anyone. It was just him.
Yep. All right, let's wrap this thing up here. So next week's show will be on Tuesday, December 30th at 5 o'clock. We will do some quarterfinals. Get ready for the NFL, for the college football playoffs, the quarterfinal rounds. We'll see what happened in the NFL next week to lead us into the last final crazy week of the regular season. And then for a lot of people, if you made it to your fantasy playoff Super Bowl, that's going to happen this week as well. And we talked about Festivus earlier. I think it's time for everyone at the end of the year to air. We're going to have a special segment that you can come on and put in the comments section. And I'm going to put a post out there on the Sideline Junkies podcast where you can give me your name of a player and who you want.
I got Frank's poll.
And we're going to have an airing of grievances. Those players that you drafted this year and you thought were just going to have lights out and do great things for your team to lead you to a championship, and they just completely shit the bed. So those are the type of ones that we want. So you're going to have an opportunity to air your grievances. So I'm going to put out a post out on on the page. You can either put it in there, and if I find some good ones, I'm going to read them on the air, or you can come on the air and you can put it in the comments with us and share your airing of fantasy football grievances. That will happen on next week's show.
Well,
and then
all week long.
I know. Well, it should be. I'm expecting that to be a fun segment. I think we're gonna have some fun with that for sure. So look forward to that for next week for sure. All right. Let's get to here through the exit ramp here. So I think Coach is still going to be on tonight. I can't remember if his show is. I think Unapologetic is on, and then the Tuesday Night Flight is on. No Nothing But Net this week. Passenger Seat, I think, is still happening this week. I know no Thursday Night Throwdown and no WrestleManiacs. I know the guys will be back on Sunday for sure. So some shows may or may not be on this week with the holiday and stuff like that coming up. So with that too, just one quick little reminder again. Of course, watch us live if you want. But then if you can't watch us live for whatever reason, you can also catch us the next day on Spotify, iHeartRadio, Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, Pocket Cast, Podbean, Castbox, and Odyssey. So with that being said, Scooter, any last second thoughts for you?
Support your local firehouses because Santa's with them. It's amazing. One Santa goes to all these firehouses. It's great. Santa's amazing, and so are the fire men and women who keep us safe.
That's where we could do the elf. Oh my God, Santa, he's coming! One of the great moments of all time, and I love that movie. Love that movie. All right, Showtime. Anything for you?
No.
No. Okay. Well, with that being said, then time to wrap this bad boy up. So appreciate everyone in the comments. Make sure, as I always say, make sure you hug your loved ones, tell them that you love them, because tomorrow's not guaranteed. Hopefully you will be here with us next week. And so until then, we say adios. Bye-bye.